So, as an aspiring game developer new to the entire world of game development, I've run into a roadblock: game art. To any of you that play games, which if you are here, you most definitely have. If not, why are you here? Anyway, when you look at a game, the first thing you see are characters, environments, and objects. You know, stuff that makes up the visual element of a game. The reason I mention this is that I'm not good at game art, and I very much have a do-it-from-scratch mentality when it comes to game dev, so naturally I would like to decorate my games with my art. I'm not saying assets are bad, I've definitely used them, I just feel adding your own art makes your game really feel like your own. Due to the lack of art skills, I've decided to learn pixel art as it seems easier. I know everyone says that, and I know it isn't true for the most part, though my reasoning is that, in my opinion, pixel art is easy to get into due to the more specific rules you can follow. My plan is to draw three things: a character, tile map, and a parallax background. By the end of the video, I will show you the results via a mock-up project I make in Godot. So I decided that to improve my pixel art, I'd spend the next week improving and learning the art of, well, pixel art. Before I get started, I'd like to also mention that all the videos and whatever other media I use to learn throughout this process, I will try to leave in the description. So technically, I spent one night watching tutorials about pixel art. I didn't draw anything as school just started back for me, and I've been quite busy today. For that fact, I don't really count day one. Give me a break. Anyway, I'll put the videos I watched on screen. I really recommend these videos and channels, especially Adam C. Eunice and Solitunes, if you're at all interested into getting into pixel art. So thanks to last night's gained knowledge from the videos, I learned a few things. 1. Stick to a color palette in order to make the sprite readable and not chaotic and noisy to look at. 2. Start by blocking out your drawing with simple shapes, then refine until the sprite is readable enough to recognize what the drawing is meant to represent. Whether it's a character, object, or anything really, making sure the sprite looks good at the minimum is pretty important. Other than a few other topics and tips, those were the main takeaways. To end off the day, I decided to draw a sprite for an adventurer character. It turned out better than I thought it would, considering it was the first thing I had made after watching the videos mentioned before. Now that I've made this little guy, we kinda need him to move, otherwise he's sort of lifeless. I started by making a simple idle animation. I think it looks pretty decent. Basically the head and hands just move up and down. After that I made a walking animation so the character can walk. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the descriptions. I then made a jump and fall animation, just one frame each. Now that I have all the animations for movement covered, I'm just gonna move on to... So we have a character, but that character has nothing to stand on. There are multiple ways you can go about making environments. You can create the level or area entirely in your art software of choice, or more commonly for games, you create tile maps. I'm sure anyone that is watching is at least somewhat familiar with what a tile map is, so I won't go into detail. Anyway, I started by looking at different videos about tile map workflow and tricks that can help when making a tile map, although there's some tips that didn't seem that intuitive to me. I decided to use the grid system. That's what those blue lines are. I filled out each square. Here's what the tile map looks like. I then added it to a Godot project and thought it looked pretty decent. I know that 3 seconds ago I just said that this tile map looks pretty decent, but I looked at the tiles next to the character and it doesn't really match. I especially dislike this brown I put to show where the light is coming from. To fix this mismatch of detail, I decided to edit the tile set and make them more cartoony so it would fit better. Started by looking up tile maps for inspiration, although none of them really lit a creative spark. Then I looked at some of Kenny's assets. Straight away I saw an asset pack and immediately had an idea. Started by simplifying the colors and shading. After doing that, this is where the inspiration of Kenny comes in. All I did was add these lighter green squares to fill out the empty space. I feel like it looks much better now. It doesn't quite tile properly, but I'm happy with it, so... Now that I've made a character and tile map, we have one more thing to draw, a parallax background. For today I decided I would just watch a few YouTube videos about the topic, because I really had no idea how to create one. I watched a few videos on the topic, and one video really helped. A video by Pixel Overload. If I can, I'll put it in the description. I started day 6 by rewatching that tutorial to really get the concepts into my head, and then I began actually working on the background. For today, I made the first 2 layers. I decided to go with a mountain-ish background. I didn't go crazy with detail because I can't. Anyway, the first 2 layers were the hills. I mainly used different shades to show where the lighting was coming from. Anyway, I'm sort of out of time for today, so on to... Continuing with with the background, I added a sky with clouds and decided the mountains looked quite plain. I tried some things but decided to just take chunks out of them. Once the hills and the sky were done, I had to export them, which was a bigger issue than I thought. I ended up exporting them by clicking export sprite sheet, then exporting each layer separately. If there's a better way to do this or not, please let me know in the comments. I then found a video which I will put on screen for parallax in Godot. After following it, my background was in Godot. Overall, it looked decent. There were a few visual bugs, and I tried to fix them for like 30 minutes and eventually just gave up. If you have any tips on how to make a better parallax, please comment them. Overall, I learned quite a lot, especially when it comes to tile sets and parallax backgrounds. I also learned about creating characters. If you have any tips or suggestions, leave them in the comments. I hope you found this entertaining or interesting. If you have a project of your own, good luck on it. See you next time.